Radio Detox is back with, I think, the ultimate detox guest right here. Ivy Lumi, you probably should know who she is, but if not, you've come to the right place. It's great to have you on, Ivy. You've got a lot going on, but I want to concentrate on your music first of all, and the message of the music and kind of how you got into, I don't want to give it a name. We've been calling it on Radio Detox the value verse or V for V. We've been calling it this for like a year and a half. And I don't know if it's the best terminology, but I'm going to leave this up to the musicians like yourself. And you have this great new EP coming out. You've got a fund going on Geyser. And I supported today. So I'm excited about that because I get a
Thank you very
Nostr
much.
badge for it. So I'm just super excited to talk to another woman in Bitcoin who loves Nostr, who loves music and marketing and all the same things that I do. So I am just geeked out to talk to you today, Ivy.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, really looking forward to this. Always down to talk about music and love.
This is awesome. Okay, so should we just like get into what you've got going on? You've got probably one of the coolest Bitcoin kind of music videos. Like, well, it's not a Bitcoin centered music video, but I love the music video for WoWoWow. Can you tell me how
Thank
you
you
made
so
this
much.
video? 'Cause it is so creative.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'm so glad you like it. Wow 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 is a single that I released in December 2025, so it's only been a few months. And then the music video has been Ivy Lumi's first ever music video. We actually shot the music video in Hong Kong after Bitcoin Asia last year that I was
Cool.
leading the production of. So that was a little bit of break after the big conference, and we were wandering around Hong Kong and taking some footages. We already knew that I will be releasing Wow 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 in the next few months. So we wanted to make something that's authentic with the traditional style of lip sync music video, but at the same time, we have so many really great artists in Bitcoin. So I've been, for Wow Wow Wow, the music video, I collaborated with creative director F0 and Zaza Wawa, both Bitcoiners, to help me co-create this dream world. They're both really cool visualists. And then we did the storyboards together, and then we did the transitions together, and all of these coming together to reflect a world where reality and the dream world blurs on the love standard, basically.
I love that. I love the video. I love the music. I love the message. Love is the cure. And you love love. So and I do too. I mean, what woman doesn't love love? This is why we're here, is to choose love over fear. That's my philosophy anyway. It's always love is greater power than fear. And so is Bitcoin. And it just kind of ties in. Bitcoin is hope. It's love. It's everything but fear. It's the opposite of the nihilism we see in the world today. How much does Bitcoin itself, like the philosophy of Bitcoin, how much does that influence your music?
I would say it inspired me to ask a lot of questions. I started working in Bitcoin very luckily about more than 5 years ago. So it's been 5 years. Time flies. I got into the Bitcoin industry on a whim without industry knowledge. I wasn't a Bitcoiner. It was back during a time where you could still get a Bitcoin job without being a Bitcoiner. So I got lucky there. Then I quickly became orange pill. Maybe like it took me 3 to 6 months to really have that pivotal moment and realize, wow, Bitcoin is not just about money. Because personally, I never liked math growing up. I was bad at numbers. I don't like
Same.
to think about money. Yeah, like it caused me a lot of stress, right? Just like a lot of other women out there. And for the longest time, just like everybody else, I've heard of Bitcoin because at this point you must have been here or
Mhm.
there. But I never really thought that it has something to do with me. And it's
Mm.
just very separate worlds we're living in, because it's not like tomorrow I'm gonna quit my job to build a rocket, because that's not my arena. Like that's not my specialty, or that's not my interest. So I thought Bitcoin was just one of these things that they exist and they have their community, and great for them, but it's not something that I could personally relate to, or it's not something that I could take use of. But that was very wrong. And I really sensed this sense of responsibility, because I feel like, wow, I got so lucky to have stumbled upon Bitcoin the way I did. while I wasn't into technology or finance or whatever. And I'm sure there's so many people just like me. There's so many people that are just like me. They don't really care about, where they're not necessarily tech savvy or finance savvy, but they would be freedom maximalists just like I am. They would be into love and freedom and want to better ourselves and become the best version of ourselves, just like a lot of us. And these people already intrinsically have a lot of ethos, or is very aligned with Bitcoin ethos already. So I was thinking, how can we encourage the next adoption curve for the community? How can we bring more people onto the Bitcoin standard? And my personal answer to come for that question is not more Bitcoin content, not necessarily more Bitcoin content, because we already had so many. Before I started doing music, I have a Bitcoin podcast, which I still do to date,
Yeah.
talking about the lifestyle aspect of Bitcoin, which I realized. But then on top of that, I started to realize what next? Because even Bitcoiners, we're struggling because there's so much trauma and sadness in us. And if you're early enough to have realized what Bitcoin is and have participated in that standard, then I can only imagine there's even more grief, there's even more anger, maybe even more trauma, because that's how you found Bitcoin in the first place. And I see in our world, like, everything is so chaotic, everybody is upset, and there's so much like anger and frustration, and you can see just merely walking on the street. And there gotta be a better way to do it. And I'm a very sensitive person, and I remember myself growing up feeling depressed if I watch news on TV.
Yeah.
And I
It's
feel
even
like,
worse now.
I realized that I want to be surrounding myself with positivity, with art and love, instead of negativity, speculation, or like arbitrary whatever. So it has been a very long journey of me not tuning into these. And the past few years, I started writing songs end of 2023 after having a random conversation at a Bitcoin conference. They told me that I should start writing things down. So I did. And then music found me in that process, because I like to sing, and things where you have random conversations that lead you to this path. And I was genuinely looking for a way to express myself. I was looking for love for myself, being at the right age and being a Bitcoiner wanting to be low time preference. That was the natural next step. But at the same time, I was suffering. I was asking questions. I was not yet sure who I was or what I wanted while I was on the journey of looking for love. So as you could kind of anticipate, there's a lot of moving parts, there's a lot of chaos going on in that process, and the songs and the emotions and the melodies kind of crystallized in that process.
So a few years of songwriting in this Bitcoin space and a few years of looking for love. We love the music. Have you found the love yet?
Oh, I have found love in that process. And I think it's the ultimate love. It's kindness we sometimes extend to ourselves. And this was almost one of the biggest lessons I learned in this journey, is that we need to really begin from loving ourselves, respecting ourselves, before we move on to loving others. And sometimes
Yeah.
because if we love others with the portion or with the energy that we're supposed to love ourselves, it can work, but it's not sustainable, because you're loving someone at a
Yeah.
deficit. And it
Yeah.
should be, what I've learned in this process, it's better to have so much self-love. That's not egotistic. It's not being narcissistic about it.
It's the
Although it
healthiest
could
thing.
be appearing sometimes narcissistic, or right. Yeah. So, but it's not a narcissistic thing. Self-love, if we have so much of self-love and the self-love is overflowing, then we can love others and love the world with the overflowing portion of the love, and spreading that love and healing energy. And this is what I really hope to do as an artist. And this is why I'm really trying to push the message of love. Love is the cure in my artistry, because that's really what I've realized. And in the quest of looking for love, and I've realized that's really the cure. Surprise, surprise. And I wish that my voice and my story and my documentation in that process can help people ask the right type of questions, or it can help them with their self-reflection to help them get over terrible heartbreaks or finally take the leap of faith to find the people that they love. So that's my essence of the love is the cure.
Hey, that's everything right there. If you can love yourself in such a kind of like a wealthy way, like Bitcoin is self-love. Like once you find Bitcoin, but you find what it's about. It's not just about like opening some kind of financial product account on your phone and saving in Bitcoin. Like it's when you realize that Bitcoin is about so much more, and it's about that low time preference. And for me, it's like about teaching my niece and nephew about Bitcoin when they're ready. You know, they're they're about 20, 21, 23 right now. And so I'm waiting for the day when they really grasp that it's a good thing and that it's about long-term planning and planning for your future and planning for your family and and hopefully they'll want to have kids and I'll be a great aunt. And that's all to in the end, it creates more love in your I mean, it creates more love in your life every day, but it creates more love, more family. It brings more people into our lives. And when the kids have kids, I'm gonna be so stoked. But then there will be like so much more love in the world, and we'll hopefully, hopefully my values will somehow trickle down to my niece and nephew. And when they get married and have kids and get their own place to live, because they're still living with mom, hopefully it'll be we are creating more love in the world with Bitcoin because I think part of that is your values do change and you do start to think for the long term and you do start to think, okay, like Bitcoin number go up, that's great, but I would like to, use this money in a way that sustains rather than depletes. I want to plan for a long-term happy life where I do love myself and I'm not a slave to a financial system. Like there's so many layers here. I think what you just said is probably everything. Love is the cure, and Bitcoin and love are kind of the same frequency to me.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I was just thinking about this earlier today over my coffee this morning. And I thought to myself that when we are trying to better ourselves and becoming this person that we're meant to become, the awareness and then the perspective, it's so interesting because in love, like as a girl where you grow up with all these romantic dreams,
Mm,
fantasies that you have, like regardless of if you're a guy or a girl, right? And how do
yeah.
we know what's good for us? And it's the same thing with Bitcoin. Like, how do we know what kind of money do we need? It's the same thing. And if we think about what are we looking for in the sound money or what are we looking for in love, like it's actually not that different. And if they're
Mm,
very similar in the sense that the fact that you have money doesn't make you understand money. And then in love is
true.
that the fact that you can spell love doesn't teach you how to love. So there's always this discrepancy and rabbit hole going on. And this is what makes it really, really interesting. So coming back to the point of how do we even know what's good for us? Because in love, we can say, oh, today I think love is someone that we go rush in the ring and then we all get wet and then we're happy about it and like kids, right? But then you get sick for a week. Like,
Yeah.
is that good? Or do you go for someone who bring your umbrella, who give you warm soup and take care of you? Like we need to know what is that thing that we want, both in society, in the money realm, or in love. So they really go hand in hand together.
Yeah, like I want to find someone who shares my values. I've had this conversation with another girlfriend of Bitcoin where we're dating, right? We're looking for that person. And my friend is still like, I really want to date a man who's in Bitcoin, a man who understands Bitcoin, who has gone all in on Bitcoin and therefore understands all of the principles, all the ethos, all of the, everything from low time preference to like let's stay in and stack sats and just all of the different things that kind of like become Bitcoiner things and the way you spend your life, which is I think the opposite of the mainstream kind of average lifestyle of I work my job, I complain about it, I go home, I eat something horrible and watch Netflix. I think that's kind of our like Bitcoiner point of view of how we think everybody else is because we were those people at one point. And so I said to my girlfriend, I said, I don't know that I need to date a Bitcoin man because I think in the end, we're all going to be Bitcoiners, right? Like maybe not the end. I guess that's at some point we're going to hit hyper Bitcoinization, and we're all going to be Bitcoiners. And probably anybody I date at some level is going to be a Bitcoiner, or maybe a pre-coiner, or maybe somebody who's open to being orange pilled, or somebody who's like,
Mhm.
hey, explain to me how your life works. You've got a Bitcoin podcast or 3 or 4 of them, and you've got like you work in Bitcoin and you save in Bitcoin, and you sound like a crazy person. Hopefully I don't still sound like a crazy person. Hopefully I don't still sound like a zealot to the uninitiated, but I kind of imagine that we're going to get to a point any day now, any year now, where anybody I date is probably more than likely a Bitcoiner, or at least close to it, or at least open to it. Does that make sense to you? Like, would you have to, if you're single, you don't have to say if you are, do you have to date somebody who is a Bitcoiner, or can we leave it to nuance and be kind of open to dating people knowing that at some point everyone's going to become a Bitcoiner? At least that's what I think anyway.
Right. Well, first, I'm not sure if everybody's is gonna become a Bitcoiner. Like that's the first thing. And if you think about how early we are in Bitcoin and how internet was back then, 1996 or something.
Oh yeah.
Back then, you had internet conferences. You had these people, geeks, coming together to talk about this and really, really looking forward to the future. Just like today, Bitcoiners get together to Bitcoin conferences. And
Mhm.
today, like many of us, almost all of us in societies, or majority of the postmodern individuals, are online to a certain degree. But can we say that we're fundamentally into internet? Can we say that we stand by the e-souls that the internet represents back then, like, which I don't even know what those are now? Like, I wouldn't say that I'm an interneter. Like, I wouldn't say
Yeah,
that while I use net to the extent that I do, right? And I feel
it's a
like
good
in the
point.
future we will have people who you actively use Bitcoin every single day without knowing there's Bitcoin in it. Like, now we see Nostr, and maybe everybody knew people joined Nostr, and they may not know at first, oh, what is Zap? And that's Bitcoin, and maybe
Oh
they're
yeah.
zapping each other without knowing what's really going on there. So I don't really necessarily call these people Bitcoiners, because I do feel like there's this spiritual or mentality threshold for Bitcoiners to cross to qualify as one, at least for everybody's definition, right? Like, they can have different definitions where they get to cross that threshold and become a Bitcoiner. And so that's the first thing. And this is why I oftentimes leave it to nuances, because
Mhm.
we're complicated beings, and Bitcoiners are very different. And when I was maybe earlier on in the space, when I first realized how amazing Bitcoin was and first started to meet Bitcoiners, I was like, wow, like, Bitcoiners are so much better than average. Like, the man in Bitcoin space are much, much better than the average at a random place, which I still stand by this argument. It's really true. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that everybody in Bitcoin is going to be my Prince Charming. Like, it's just
Right.
not going to happen, because they're humans, they're coming from different backgrounds, they have different
Mhm.
family history, personality, experience, and this is even more so in Bitcoin, because
Yeah.
everybody is really diverse, really coming from different places, and that's even more place for nuance. And I'm the type of person who love to experience and explore people's universe. I love the fact that people are layered beings. We have different sides of us, and I'm really willing to take the time to explore if I'm intrigued enough. And if you only have one side, which is a Bitcoiner, and you evolve your own identity around that, and you really, really identify with that, and for me, that's a flag too.
Yeah. Bitcoin cannot be your entire personality. I know it is for a lot of people in this space, but I think we came to Bitcoin through multifaceted ways. And we stay, I think, for
Definitely.
multifaceted ways. I think Bitcoin is one of those things in life. Like, to me, Bitcoin is on par with yoga. Like, Bitcoin and yoga and music too. These are things I love that I'm probably not going to get tired of. I'm not going to get tired of learning about Bitcoin and like practicing Bitcoin the same way as I'm not going to get tired of learning and practicing yoga. And I'm not going to get tired of music ever. I'm not going to just listen to the same songs for the rest of my life. I'm going to keep exploring new music, new genres, new artists. Like, I'm not going to get tired of those kinds of things. And yeah, there's going to be like
Mhm.
downturns, right? Like, there's going to be times when maybe I get into a music rut or a yoga rut, or Bitcoin is in a bear market or whatever, but I'm not going to quit because of it. I'm going to keep, pursuing these have become passions, but they're not my whole personality. I do other things too. Like I'm sure you do as well. You do other things besides Bitcoin if you wanted to share.
Yeah, so I would say music is the biggest part where I'm spending increasingly more of my time reflecting on it, trying to be better technically, because I came from a really not technical at all, just hearing melodies in my head, trying to write it down before I forget it type of approach.
Mhm.
Now that I really believe in my vision and I want to help the community, Bitcoiner or not, because everybody is traumatized. It's not like I'm only trying to help Bitcoiners. That's not true. So music is one of the biggest kind of arenas where I'm exploring right now to write about love, sing about love to for Bitcoiners and beyond. And I say this to myself, like if you hear Beyonce's songs, her style is very much you don't deserve my tears. Like this vibe, like very boss
Yeah.
lady and very empowering, and you don't deserve my tear. But I feel like Ivy Lumi is kind of taking on a different approach. Where she's saying, I cry for you.
Ivy
So
has a
that's the
lot of
difference.
feelings. 'Cause Ivy's got depth and I can hear it in your voice too when I'm listening to your music, and hearing it in the range of your voice. And there are times when your voice is a little high on your as it is in the melodies, and then there's times when like you go a little deeper, and I can just there is a soul in your voice that I really really like too, because it's you
Aw.
don't see it coming, it kinda sneaks up because like, "Wow, wow, wow" is one of those examples where the song kinda starts out and you're, like, in an upper register, and then as it keeps going, like, you get that little bit of deepness, that little bit of soul, like, you can feel it coming out, and that's what's kinda cool.
Wow, that's really amazing to hear. Thank you so much for sharing.
It's an energy in music, and I like how you Bitcoin came to you, I think, and then the music came to you also kind of like this journey's gone on, like, the past 5 or 6 years since you started working in Bitcoin, and then it automatically kind of informed your music and comes out in your music. Like, of course, you probably fell hard and fast in love with Bitcoin because of your work or your day job, but also it just seems like it was kind of like a natural thing to embrace music in the way that you have, and putting your music. It's on Fountain, and you've got a Geyser Fund going, and it just seems like this is so perfect and so natural that your music would come out, and then you're bringing it into the Bitcoin space and just kind of showing what is possible for a music artist to, earn in Bitcoin and support your music in Bitcoin. Like, how did you kind of, I guess, choose? Like, did you choose to come to Fountain first, or did you know about it because you're a podcaster?
Right. I would say yes. I started connecting with Fountain when I during my podcast days, and I had Nick, one of the co-founder from Fountain, came on my show as an early guest. So I was aware of the value for value concept going on, and when I was starting to write music, it was. None of this was planned. None of this was planned. It was really, when I was starting writing songs, I was at a low point in my life. I was in the year where I really lost everything. Like my mom was getting really, really sick. I was breaking up from my long term relationship of 5, 6 years. And then I lost my job. And then the three of these things, like they kind of happened in the period of 2 months.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's like overnight I changed a place to live, and all of the legs that I was previously standing on and building myself on were like completely collapsing. And back then, and then I was like out of a job. I was paying for myself, just getting by, selling Bitcoin on the way down because it's just part of
Mhm.
life. But even
Yep.
back then, I knew that it's gonna be ultimately an opportunity, and I really really enjoyed very much the time I was unemployed, and then like networks watching my networks going down because I was really taking care of myself. I was making an intentional choice. I was cooking every day. I was going to the gym every day. I went out for walks every day. By the time I was still unemployed and I went home, and my dad was like, they had no idea. Like, I never told them this happened. So in their head, I was like working all the time. And I went home and my dad's like, "You've been away for 10 years and this is the time you look the best."
Aw,
And and I uh-huh, uh-huh. And I was like, little do you
amazing.
know that the glow is coming from unemployment. Of course, I didn't say that, but I was like, yes, yes.
Right,
But
parents won't,
yeah,
vibe with that, but
for sure, but it was really the time that I recognized, okay, like, I can take care of myself, and I should be taking care of myself, and I should take this opportunity to rest because it's not gonna be like this forever, and I will be busy again, and I will
yeah.
be thinking that, "Oh, I should be taking the time to rest." So I was really happy that it was the case, and the music kinda came from in that process where I was really trying to figure things out myself. And it was during a
Oh,
time
that's
that I
cool.
was intensely traveling here and there. And I would go through these stories, have these interactions and conversations, and with whatever I was struggling with at the time, right? And with the
Mhm,
impression of that space. So in the EP, there were a few songs that was written after specific trips. There's the trip to Berlin, there's the trip to Amsterdam, there's trip to Madeira. Like those are I took these trips for Bitcoin because I traveled for work and then I lingered because I was there. I may as well take a break to
mhm.
explore. And then the song came that way. So there's a lot because of my involvement in Bitcoin, there's a lot of context of the stories behind and the locations of these songs. And I wish for whoever have traveled to these places for Bitcoin conferences or personal reasons, if you hear these songs that are constructed in a certain place, I hope you get to pick up a little bit of the vibe of that place because that's what I was trying to capture too.
Very cool. Okay, so wait, which song was which city? You mentioned, Berlin and Madeira and where else?
And Amsterdam, Prague, like there are a lot of these trips are linked
Okay.
to different parts of the world that I travel to for Bitcoin.
Oh, wow. Okay, okay, because there's, the songs are okay, so Berliner Luft, that's gotta be a song about Berlin, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so the Way You Are Only Human, okay, this is your most streamed track, I think, and which city would that be connected to?
That didn't really have not all of the songs come from trips. So
Okay,
so there were a few that I took inspirations and there were a few that kind of like I drew inspiration from the diary over a course of time. And they overlaps with some of the trips. And so they all come slightly different sources.
okay. Does The Cure have a city tied to it?
No, The Cure doesn't have The Cure was actually
Okay,
the first song I wrote.
cool. Okay, so we're getting some of the behind the scenes here. Okay, so No Time in Madeira has obviously gotta be connected to Madeira.
Yes.
And then Follow the Wise Rabbit, the longest
That's
song,
what I
by the
wrote
way.
after Prague. Yes.
That's after Prague. Okay, cool. Okay, so that Prague inspired Follow the Wise Rabbit.
Yes.
That is very cool. Okay, so that's now we're getting a little behind the scenes. Like you could, if you're traveling to Bitcoin conferences, you now have kind of the official Bitcoin conference soundtrack. I love that. I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
And you know how people go to different places and they build playlists while they're
Mhm.
traveling to, and then
Yeah.
whenever they listen to that playlist in the future, it bring back their memory and sometimes do the same thing with smells and like perfumes and
Mhm.
food and sound. And yeah, like I just find I'm extremely grateful for having the ability to make my own time capsule, basically.
I love it. I should add that you're a real musician. You're not making like AI assisted music. Like you actually know what you're doing. Like you play keyboard, correct?
Yes, I play keyboard. I started as a kid and then I started doing piano for a number of years, but I've always been a crappy instrument player. Like I've never been any good. That's why for decades I was like I really love music. I like to sing, but I guess I'm just not that talented over here. I will be a admirer of music, but it was really when I started writing songs I realized that was really something I was meant to do.
Everything kind of came to you like I guess from maybe this is true, maybe this is not true. It just seems like everything came pouring in after you got into Bitcoin or after Bitcoin found you. Does that sound right?
I would say so, but I would also say that in this very process, I've always been a very, very open person. No, my perceptor is not my knowledge. Like, I know that I'm not navigating in this world from a fact-based perspective. So I really acknowledge on the fact that I don't know enough about anything. And my sensor, my way of navigating in this world is really emotions and the senses and the emotional response that the world triggers in me, and then vice versa. So it's been a great journey learning about myself and learning about the world. And to stay open in that process, it means I was able to really reflect on the random conversations I had. And I'm a deterministic person. I don't know about you, but I'm deterministic. So everything happens. I believe that everything happens for a reason, for the better.
Mhm.
So I try to look into the meaning or the intention behind each random interaction, random conversation, and see what
Yeah.
is this conversation trying to tell me that will be helpful for me. Like, what do I need to know? Why this happened now? What do I need to know here? So I'm constantly asking myself these questions, and I am not too pride to be a student. And this has where being Asian has really helped me, because growing up I'm good student. I've always studied, and this is how as an Asian kid I get a little bit more chance and time to play. So if I were a good student at school, if I were to be top of my class, then I have a little bit more flexibility at home in terms of how much I can play, how much I can be on my computer. The length of my hair, for example, because in school you're supposed to have short hair and at a certain length, and you could get in trouble as a girl if you have long hair, because they don't want you to be focusing on beauty as a teenager. But because I had good grades, like, nobody cared. These things. And I would try to get a little bit more privilege, a little bit more freedom as a good student. And that has helped me uh, help with humility, I guess, of taking advice from people and listening to them and actually do what they say. I think that's important.
The beginner mindset is so important. I never want to be the smartest person in the room. Like I never want to say, "Oh, I already know that." Like mansplaining's a different thing, but I never want to feel like I know everything because then what is left? I think everybody can teach me something. Even maybe people I don't like so much even have something to teach me. Everything is a teacher. Everything in life is a teacher. And if you can kind of like, bring it back to love, if you love yourself and you don't identify so much in your ego, then yeah, you can absolutely be open to, even taking criticism. Everything's information. Like if you just look at things and go, okay, maybe that
For
hurts my
sure.
ego a little bit. Maybe it hurts my feelings, but that's information. It's information I can use, and then I stay like moldable and flexible rather than just like like I can't look in any other direction, right? It's got to be my way or the highway. Like it's life is so much less fun if you get into that control freak like black and white thinking mode. And I think Bitcoiners are some of the best thinkers. I mean, we question we question everything, and so like it's just so refreshing for somebody to say, "Hey, I'd rather be humble," because we say that a lot in Bitcoin. We say we're going to stay humble and stack sats, but not everybody's good at the humble part.
But at the same time, I find myself struggling on the control freak aspect too, because I
Mhm.
am very particular, and I feel like you kind of need to be with your craft. Like, you need to be
Yeah.
very particular and know what you
Oh
want,
yeah.
and know to not cave on anything lesser than that. And
Mhm.
there's certain type of paranoia that you kind of need to go into that direction, but there's a healthy balance, and I find myself struggling on this front too, because on one hand on that sense, I'm a very bipolar person, and I have friends describing me as, you are extremes between fine lines. And I agree, because I'm really like that. And it's a lot of the songs, the music, and what I'm doing is very much about duality. And
Mhm.
it's about the message that it's not about either or, it's that it's both and. And it's really two things at the same time. And it's because there's only one thing and it's just the two sides of the one thing, and there's not even necessarily good or bad about that. So I think that awareness have also helped me in the past.
Yeah, as we mature, we get out of the black and white either or thinking, and we get into more gray areas, and we grow a little tolerance, hopefully, as we get older. Not everybody does, but yeah, hopefully that's my goal, anyways, to be like a little bit more laid back with each passing year. Now you've got, if you're just tuning in, Ivy Lumi. This is the guest this week on Radio Detox. I think she is very detoxed from the fiat system and also the fiat music system. Like, I imagine you probably have your music on places like Apple and Spotify, like just because you kind of probably just do.
Well, yeah, because that's a very specific approach that I've decided to take. Like I said, I'm not
Mhm.
here. Ivy Lumi is not just here to heal Bitcoiners, and I'm here for everybody. And I don't want to like discriminate against if you're a bit if not you're not a Bitcoiner. I'm not gonna bother with my healing message. I'm not gonna be that.
Right.
And then I understand there's this purity preference going on, I guess. And sometimes I post. There was one time I posted a WoWoWow music video on Nostr, and because right now Nostr doesn't allow you to upload file up to a certain size, like that was my only
Right.
option to paste a YouTube video. And there were people commenting on, "Oh, this is decentralized platform, and you're posting YouTube link, like what the heck?" And I get that,
Hmm.
but at the same time, like I am here to focus on building, and I'm here to build for
Yes.
everyone, and I don't want to
Good.
make the distinction and waste my energy on deciding I'm gonna give to you or not you. And it's here,
Yes.
and if you
Absolutely.
resonate with my music, I believe the universe will find you a way to Ivy Lumi, regardless.
Yeah, don't let the purists drag you down. I mean, we there is a lot of that on Nostr, and it's I think it's a very lowbrow energy. I think it's a very low vibe energy of like every artist still is on traditional platforms. Leave them alone. It's part of the gig. It's part of the music business. You will be on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram, or some combination of them. And it doesn't mean that we like being there. It doesn't mean we're having a good time there. Every day I have to worry about all my YouTube channels and copyright strikes, whether I deserve them or not. There's no recourse if you get one. And it doesn't matter if you did a bad thing and violated a copyright or not. It's just that if you get a strike, anybody can do that and try to take you down. And so I just kind of like wait for the day when YouTube takes down, one of my channels. But for the time being, myself as a creator, a lot of people as creators are still doing, foot, I think, in both worlds where, yeah, you're going to be on YouTube and yeah, you're going to share a link to a YouTube video on Nostr. And anybody who gets mad about that is probably, to me, in my opinion, focused on the wrong things. Ivy Lumi has got great art, and that's what we should be focusing on is her good music. And the fact that you're in this ecosystem, you do a lot around here in the Bitcoin world. And I think it's great you're a Bitcoiner who is on Nostr. People should just be happy about that. And you also are using Geyser to fundraise for your campaign right now. And I think this is so cool because now I can support you and all the rest of the artists that I love on Fountain and or Wave Lake and or Nostr. Like I can just zap whatever you post on Nostr. I can listen to your podcast. I can zap you there. I can listen to your music. I can zap boost there. And then like what I did today, I got on Geyser, and I love that you've got this Geyser page, this Geyser Fund, and people can contribute, which I highly recommend. I contributed today. So, I put my sats where my mouth is. And one of the things that I thought was so interesting about your Geyser page is you're actually you have 16 days left on the day we're recording this on Thursday, March 5th. So she's got a little more, than 2 weeks to go. Your Geyser Fund is actually you're not asking for that much. You're asking for 500,000 sats, which is about $357. That's not even that much. I think people should be running to fund your Geyser campaign right now.
I'm trying to make it, the whole concept is love is the cure, right? And then I
Mhm.
really want to make something that you can hold on to, like a little reminder. And I feel like sometimes we need these little manifests of love, these little reminders, and it can be anything
Yeah.
really. It can be a note, it can be a card, it can be a keychain, it can be a necklace, but it's really about Can you see something and get reminded that first you're loved, second that you're
Mm,
enough, and third that there's still so much more in the world to explore? So get up and feel positive. Like, don't sulk
mhm.
over whatever and go out and explore. And there's so much love and light and hope outside. And let's not focus on the
Yeah.
bad things only. So it's really
Mhm.
about how can I create something that's connected to my music and my message, and for some people, something people can hold on to. Because
Yeah.
with everything being deep fake, more and more AI generated, more and more isolated, we
Yeah.
need these little things as humans to hold on to. So you can see in the Geyser campaign, there's a lot of things going on there. Along with the original EP, The Cure, I released a line of 6 pin collection. It's a pin collection with 6 pins, with 5 pins generated from the Cure EP and 1 pin of my logo. These songs are designed by my creative director, F Zero. It's collaboration with him. And then these songs are coming from the essence of the songs of the Cure EP. So the catalog we went through, you asked me, where did you write these? Each of them is
Mhm.
now a pin that you can hold on to that has some essence of the song attached. And then on top of that, I also have a CD recording 5 songs from the Cure EP, as well as 2 bonus singles that I have released ever since.
I love this. Everybody's got to get in on this because, first of all, Geyser does these campaigns and they are all or nothing campaigns. So we've got to fund her. Yeah, otherwise, I get my money back and I don't want my money back. I want it to go to you and to your funding. But also, these are kind of collector's items. And I don't know about you or anybody else listening, but I'm going to assume Radio Detox listeners are all about not just being able to contribute to something that helps artists like Bitcoin does, like Nostr does, like Geyser Fund does, like Fountain, Wave, like this whole ecosystem that we've been building for years now. Like, I know people want to support that, but also, like, you get a little collectible here. Like, this is
Yeah.
fun. Like, I got a Nostr badge and like I can go back. I can get one of these collectible pins, which are really cute, by the way. I love this one where it's a clock and every part of the clock says now instead of a number because the time is now. Do these reflect individual songs or just is it just part of your, I don't know, your aesthetic, your vibe?
It's from an individual song. Guess which?
Oh, which okay, so now the one with the clock that says now on every number would be, I'm gonna guess, No Time in Madeira, just because
That's the wrong
time is in the
answer.
minute.
Uh, the the
Dang it.
the song behind this is "Follow the Wise Rabbit," and if you look at the pin,
Okay, that
the
makes more sense.
clock, the inside of the clock is the historical clock in Prague.
Oh, the famous, okay, so this is cool. Okay, so folks are really gonna love getting a little piece of Ivy Lumi and not just your music, but your creativity overall, and that there's actually a story behind all this. This is what we've been missing, I think. Like, I think mainstream artists, like the big ones, like Taylor Swift does this kind of thing, right? Where like she has eras and there's a whole story behind it, and then people buy tickets to her shows and they show up dressed up in, certain era related outfits. So like this is kind of like that where like we feel like we're really true fans. Like, we know you through your music, like we know your music, and we just kind of like get that opportunity to have that relationship as fans. Like, do you, because you're releasing your music in the value verse, do you feel like you're having that good peer-to-peer, like one-to-one relationship with your fans? Like, do you actually know the people who are listening to your music?
Yeah, I'm starting to have that because I'm such a new
Mhm.
artist and I'm not previously in the music industry. For me, it started as something to document and for something to reflect on myself. And then it became something that, wow, maybe I can heal more people through these. And till this very day, I'm every single day in the process of becoming Ivy Lumi, because what she represents and what she could represent for Bitcoiners, for Bitcoiner and beyond, I want to help through that vessel. And it's interesting you mentioned Taylor Swift, because I was thinking to myself, we have Bitcoin artists, we have Bitcoin musicians sing about Bitcoin at Bitcoin conferences, and it's a blast. And I always love this experience bringing people together, and we need that. But at the same time, how about the other people? How about people who are not into technology, not into finance, but they may be the people who need Bitcoin the most? Because if I get to save $5 a month, I'm not gonna have the bandwidth to think about generational wealth, no matter what you say about
Yeah.
Bitcoin becoming like it's just not relevant. I have $5 to save and I have all these obligations, right?
Right.
It's just not realistic. So how can I'm trying to reach these people through love, and it's a daily practice, really.
Love and music, and it all goes together. If you could create a concert, I guess, from artists who are in the value verse, it doesn't have to be people who are like super crazy Nostr people or super into Bitcoin, like any music that you have listened to that's, independent in the value verse, maybe some artists that you know or would want to perform with and do like a live concert, maybe at one of these conferences, maybe somewhere else. But like, what would your dream lineup be, your dream concert anywhere in the world, any musicians that you could perform with? Because of course you would be on the bill.
That's a good question. I want to be performing with my friends. Over the past couple years, in the process of becoming a musician in the Bitcoin space, I would say is really the best thing because we already have so many great artists that support the initiatives around value for value or really operating on that vein and are creating incredible art. And I've learned so much from them in the past couple years. So my dream lineup would be to perform with my friends as a musician. Because before I was only
Mhm.
being there as a participant, right? I'm only starting to line up and trying to get live gigs with events just starting now
Cool.
with a million things in the pipeline and not much help, right? So, yeah, if your event is interested, hit me up, and I would love to
Yeah.
find ways to collaborate with communities in the space, and even beyond Bitcoin space. Like I said, I'm here to not here just for Bitcoiners.
Yeah, she's here for music and everything else. Well, here for love, but here for all of this wonderful creativity. And what do you think of Nostr? I know you like Nostr. I know you told Avi on Club Chain Radio that you probably spend more time on Nostr than Twitter these days.
Well, that's 100% true. And I was looking at my feed on Twitter. I was like, "Ugh, I really don't feel bad of ditching my existing community on Twitter to
Really?
switch Nostr. Nobody's on there, and I really enjoy the
Mm.
crowd of Nostr. I now have some supporters. They've been following my work for a while, so really shout out to you guys. You know you're who, and every day with the interaction of Nostr and how clear the value is signaled,
Mhm.
I'm more bullish and more hopeful every day building on Nostr.
Yay. Are you into vibe coding at all? I mean, you mentioned building on Nostr. Are you into any of that, or are you just there to like hang out and use it for, social things and music things?
I wouldn't say I'm a coder, and it's gonna be, I know it's a interesting rabbit hole I'm yet to explore, and I'm a little bit scared to go on that rabbit hole because there's so many other things going on. I'm really trying to be
True.
mindful of the priority here, and I want to remain kind of authentic as much as possible in the music and
Yeah.
lean into that a bit more. So maybe one day. I feel like I would be
Mhm.
into that just because everybody will have to.
Yeah, the next time you ever have some downtime, like we certainly don't want you to be unemployed ever again. But if you ever have like some vacation time, just some time to go down the vibe coding rabbit hole, it would actually be interesting to see, what someone like yourself who is well versed in Bitcoin and well versed in Nostr and music and the value verse or value for value, whatever we want to call it. It would be interesting to see what you might vibe code and like what you might come up with. Like, would you come up with a music thing or just something else? Like that's always what interests me about what people come up with because it's really another tool
Mhm.
for creativity. And like, gosh, nobody is as creative as someone who makes music. That's you guys are the best. Like, it's
Uh,
not just like it's a gift. Like you have a gift. I cannot sing like you do. I cannot come up with melodies like you do. And everything you put out from the way you set up your Geyser campaign and have these pins that go with your songs to the WoWoWow music video, like you're just pure creativity, Ivy. We love this. We need more. We
Thank you
need
so much.
about 100 more of you in this space, at least.
Yes, please. And this is not a solo effort. I have a small yet very good team, and it's I have a few really good and close collaborators who have always been there for me whenever I needed it. They've been supporting my music journey from the very beginning. So it is a community effort, and in the end, the journey of me becoming Ivy Lumi is more than one person stepping up to write songs. It's about how her and her community can come together and heal the world through love and hope. And this is my, you may think that this is a real like lunatic thing to say, but this is my real ambition is. And if we think about how mainstream artists come out and Taylor Swift come out and say, I'm getting married, and how the Twitter just broke down over that, like, what if we have an artist mainstream on a global scale come out and say, I'm into Bitcoin? Like, what will happen then?
Oh god, it would be
Because
great.
yeah, exactly, right? So we need to do that now as Bitcoiners, as a collective.
We really do, and, like, I know that there are some artists out there who are kinda mainstream or extremely mainstream, and behind the scenes, they're Bitcoiners, but, mainstream-wise, that it's still they're told by their managers, "Hey, you don't want to mention that word," or, like, if you say Bitcoin on Instagram, that's kind of it results in an
Exactly.
instant shut. And, like, I haven't experienced that yet, with Bitcoin content on YouTube. Like, look, Bitcoiners are doing great on YouTube, right? Shout out to people people who are doing great, like Walker or BTC Sessions. I think, one or both of them have had their stuff taken down too. Like, and certainly Simply Bitcoin has had their stuff taken down too, and, they give you no recourse, they don't tell you why, you can just kind of guess, "Oh, I bet they got taken down because they mentioned Bitcoin or they mentioned some other thing," and so, like, I that's why I say I'm just waiting to be taken down at some point, and I see people get their accounts back, but, you go down for, like, 3 weeks or whatever while you try to work with YouTube, Meta, Google, whoever's taking you down. I've certainly had my Instagram taken down once too, not for anything I said, but because somebody reported me dead. And I'm sure there was another person with my name who actually probably did pass away, but I got taken down for a few weeks on my Instagram, and that was 2019, and that's sort of where I started to fall out of love with the big tech, with the mainstream legacy platforms. But we didn't have an alternative yet in 2019 like we do now with Nostr. And so every once in a while, I like to ask a guest like yourself who is passionate about Nostr and you like Nostr. So I want to know if you have any thoughts about what must we do to ensure that Nostr cannot fail?
Ooh, I would say it's the same thing for everywhere. It goes beyond Nostr, just people
Mhm.
extending kindness to themselves and others.
Yeah.
Cause I get it. Like you don't see the person, and we're having all these heated conversations because the world is chaotic and truth is
Yeah.
chaotic. But can we not lose ourselves in that process? Have like come from a place of
Mhm.
kindness, not I'm right, you're not. Like, the reason why I have been able to lean into my creative practice is because I know I'm not right. I know that I
Mm.
don't know enough, and I'm open to be proven wrong. I'm open to get hurt. And I remember a lot of these songs were written in a time where I was leaning into the heartbreaks. I was leaning into suffering because I
Mhm.
wanted to get to the bottom of this, to know what do I need in love. And I think we need to, on Nostr or beyond, we need to allow ourselves to be more uncomfortable for once
Like, be
and
wrong,
lean
like
into that discomfort. Yeah.
yeah, like, don't be so argumentative, like, let someone correct you or let someone challenge you, like, not every opinion I have is correct, I'm s sometimes stuck in my ways, like, I get it, I'll die on a hill, I'll have a strong opinion about something, but is it just based on a feeling or is it based on a fact? And if I, need to be corrected, could there be a nice way to do it? That's
Yeah.
and I can do the same thing to other people. I can be nice and kind and loving too. And remember that our friend Ivy Lumi says love is the cure and that we need to practice more kindness. We need more people like you. Can I duplicate
Mm.
you? Can I clone you? And get more folks like you in the Valueverse and just get more people listening to you for sure, supporting on Geyser. And one of the things I love about Geyser is it works with Nostr. So when I do support someone like Ivy Lumi on Geyser, that it's going to post to Nostr for me, and people are going to be like,
Oh, yeah.
"What's this?" Like, "Oh, what is she doing? Why is she supporting that? What is this?" And hopefully, like somebody else comes in and hears your music just because I like did a little thing and made a little post and and shared your music, and maybe more people will come to you because they listen to Radio Detox, and more people will find everything that you do, which is a lot. She does a lot around here, folks. Like we're concentrating on her music right now because I think that's the most important message. I want to see your Geyser Fund campaign get fully funded. I want to see all the musicians campaigns get fully funded, so people need to get on Geyser, go find Ivy Lumi. Just click the zap button, folks. Just participate here. Uh, Her success means more success for more people, and that means growing the space and growing the ecosystem. And then, maybe somebody watching this on YouTube or listening on Fountain hears this and goes, "Okay, she said we're early, but she's also a little bit ahead of me." And like I really like her music, and maybe someday I can do what she's doing, and maybe we'll do a concert together somewhere, and it could be Hong Kong, it could be anywhere, but that's what I want. I want more people to hear this and go, "That person is doing it, so I want to do it. I could do what
Yes,
Ivy Lumi's
please.
doing." That's what we
Yes,
need, because
please.
that would be so fun. Can you imagine Bitcoin conferences? If we're at Bitcoin conferences and there's a whole bunch of Ivy Lumis and there's just a whole bunch of people who are like you, and we could have like a massive music festival at a Bitcoin conference with like you, Roger 9000, Ainsley Costello, Joe Martin. Like I could just name off like dozens of people who would be excellent entertainers and really show off what we can do with Bitcoin, with Lightning, with Nostr, and how it all works together. Like, you're right. We're so early. I'm dreaming though.
Totally. Culture, well, you're not dreaming. It's already happening. Culture is the
Mhm.
way, and I always believe that while money is very, very base layer, culture is more base layer than money. And
Mhm.
humanity is more base layer than culture. And when we come together, regardless of gender, race, and culture, and money or currencies, and what is feeding humanity, what is the fuel for humanity to survive, and I think we that's how I ended up the answer of wow, love is really the cure, because without love, I think of Bitcoin and love's relationship being this love can be this spark in our heart, and Bitcoin can be the electricity or the heat, like the moment of heat, and then it becomes a fire. But if you just have the fire, you're just gonna end up, but the no spark, you're just end up burning everything down. Like there's a hand in hand relationship, and I feel like the test upon Bitcoiners are upon us with
Mhm.
where the world is going and where Bitcoin is going. And I hope more people, Bitcoiner, will not get to encounter your content, my content, and start to ask themselves a few other questions in Bitcoin other than what is money, and start to think about who
Yeah.
am I, what I'm here to do, and how can I help.
I love that. We're gonna end it there. That was absolute perfection. That's a Bitcoiner right there. Having a great vision. That's what we do best in this community, is having a vision for things just being better, improving constantly. I love that. Thank you, Ivy Lumi. One of my best guests ever, I would say, and totally stoked about the music too. Going to be listening to this for a long time, and
Yay. Thank you
I
so
know there'll
much.
be more to come. Thank you so much.
Right.
Perfect. You are fantastic.